Believe it or not, we see the world as we are, not as the world is. Our mindset is the lens we see the world. And the lens can be changed, and it does so over time through experiences, people we meet, things we read. When we see different, we start to think different. And when we think different, we start to feel different. And our feelings affect our vibe, right? By now, you have heard of vibrations and how we radiate an actual energetic vibration with our feelings. The lowest vibration is the feeling of shame. And the highest vibes are love and enlightenment. I hope I can bring you to a place of enlightenment with today's episode. Hi, I'm Gia Fey, and this is my podcast. I have spent the last 10 years reading, developing my self-love, attending motivational conferences, watching YouTube videos, doing therapy, even magic mushroom ceremonies with shamans. Yeah, I have done so many things to empower myself, to learn to truly love myself and discover the purpose of life. I will say it's a journey, and I only get better as I do the work. On this show, we're going to talk about self-love and life and everything in between. How to rewire your mind to achieve financial success. What happens when you get stuck in life? Heartbreaks. What's the best plan for intermittent fasting? What's going on with our inner child? How is therapy working out for you? Whatever cheesemate my guests want to talk about, we will talk about here. We're going to dive deep into taboo subjects. There's going to be no filters. And these are necessary conversations. This is information for the chismosa, or I like to call them the curious. This is the Gia Fey Podcast. Mindset refers to the collection of beliefs, attitudes, and perspectives that shape an individual's thoughts, behaviors, and overall approach to life. It's the lens through which we interpret and respond to the world around us. Mindset plays a crucial role in determining how we perceive and navigate challenges, setbacks, opportunities, and success. I want you to listen to that one part again. It's the lens through which we interpret and see our world through. So the way that we see life is the way that life will appear to us. I was one of those people when I was younger that I had the mindset that my problems were everyone else's fault, right? It was my parents' fault that I had bad relationships. It was my employer's fault that I didn't make enough money. And I lived life for so many years blaming other people for my life. And that's a mindset. And let me tell you, that is a mindset that is going to hold you back. When I changed my mindset to God loves me, right? God is on my side. The universe is on my side. Everything that happens to me is to learn and to grow. And I am responsible to create my own reality. That mindset shift changed my life. And how? How did I change my mindset? So I'm going to go to a fitness analogy, which makes sense for me, right? Because I was a fitness trainer for 20 years. And what I saw is that people, in order to see the difference, right, the transformation in their body, they had to start transforming so many things, right? Habits, exercise routines, nutrition routines. It was an overall collective work. It was collective work, and it had different components, right? And it took time. When you tried to develop a great booty, it wasn't going to happen overnight. And developing a really great mindset, right? A successful mindset, a growth mindset, that also takes time. So it also includes habits, exercises that I'm going to share with you at the end of the podcast, and just completely changing what you're consuming. Just like changing what you eat is going to transform your body, changing what you consume online, through news, television, books, even the people that we surround ourselves with. All of that is what we consume and what starts to dictate our mindset. I also started to hang out with so many different people in the last 10 years, right? Other influencers that had success mindsets, right? That believed that they can do hard things. And that also started to transform my mindset. You have to understand the power of mindset. Like, mindset literally can transform the way you see a problem, right? Even a problem can be looked at as a positive outlook. And I'm not talking about positive toxicity, right? It's like we all have heard of toxic positivity. I'm not talking about if you're suffering with health issues, that you're supposed to be like, oh, this is amazing, this is great. It's not about being positive about the situation, but shifting your perspective to seeing how you're learning through the challenge, right? How you're growing through the challenge. One of the mindset shifts and the phrases that helped me transform my mindset was this quote that I had read in one of the books I had read. And it was an affirmation that I started to repeat that really helped me through some of my dark days. And that is, every day I'm getting better in every way. That's a growth mindset. And if you start to believe it by repeating it daily, you really start to look at your life like, wow, what a beautiful life I have to learn from. And now we have to also know, right? What is our mindset? So just like, again, fitness, a lot of people don't want to get on that scale. And I have a lot of girls that are like, I don't want to know how much I weigh. And I always have to let them know that if we cannot see where you start, right? If we cannot identify where your body fat is, where your weight is, how your nutrition looks like right now, we can't actually transform it and we can't measure it. So when it comes to mindset, it's pretty similar. You have to know where you're starting from. You have to identify your limiting beliefs. The mindset of scarcity, right? That there's not enough. I started to identify that my mindset of scarcity was real. And so you have to ask yourself, where did this limiting belief come from? That's what helped me, at least, right? This is not a one-way do all, but the way that I was able to identify my beliefs or my limiting beliefs is to think about where that came from. A lot of our mindset programming comes from family, society, our friends. And let me tell you, the scarcity mindset that I had came from my parents. Again, these were two people that came from Mexico. They had nothing when they came here. I mean, my dad, he started washing dishes at Denny's when he first moved to the United States. He was 20 years old. And then my mom came out here a couple years later when they got married. And my dad developed a business and he was constantly working. And I remember just growing up and my dad always telling me, we don't have enough money for that. We can't afford that. And you start to develop this belief, and that's a limiting belief, right? You start to develop this belief that, wow, there isn't enough money. I can't afford these things. And that becomes the lens that you start to see life through. And so for so many years, even when I first started my business, Body by Gia, I had that mindset. And because I had that mindset, it started to create my reality. I always thought, oh, I barely have enough money for rent. Oh, I barely have enough money to go shopping, or I didn't even have any money to shop really. And at the time I was paying $650 for rent. And even then I was like, oh my gosh, there's never enough money. And once I started to see how that mindset was affecting my life is when I started to want to learn more. I, at the time, started to watch Tony Robbins' YouTube videos, and he talked a lot about how your thoughts and your beliefs really dictate your success. And then Wayne Dyer even says, change your thoughts and you change your life. Your thoughts are the programming, and the mindset is the program, right? So I started to learn so much about how the universe is abundance, right? And the universe lives within me. And the more that I trained my mind, and the more that I read books, the more that I saw YouTube videos, the more that I was convinced that there really is enough. There's more than enough. Even personal trainers. I mean, I was one personal trainer, and there's so many personal trainers. And I started to develop a mindset that there's still more than enough work. There's more than enough people that need fitness trainers. And so even that started to bring me in more business. And at first, it was like, is this a coincidence? But then I started to continue to exercise my mind. And trust me, it took years to develop the mindset that I have now. And even the mindset that I have now, which is there's more than enough, right? The universe is abundance. There's an infinite amount of opportunities out there. But of course, just like you go to school and then there's tests, God will still test you, right? I developed that mindset, and then God still tested me with a very, very nasty legal battle these last couple years with my business. And it challenged me again. And it made me think about that scarcity mindset again. It's like an old programming that wants to come back. And then God's like, no, remember our training. And so I had to start exercising again those affirmations of there's more than enough. I'm okay. I will be able to handle it. And the fears start to come up with scarcity mindset, right? Those fears of I'm not going to be able to afford my lifestyle. I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. And all these fears start to flood our mindset. And then it changes the lens that we see life through. And so you will be challenged even as you're training your mind. Just again, like your body, you may get to a place where you lose 20 pounds. And then you're so excited and you're like, wow, my body looks amazing. I can go eat what I want now. I hardly have to exercise, or I'm going to keep exercising, but I'm going to eat what I want now. And I've seen clients do this. They'll lose 20 pounds and then they're like, cool, I could just go back to eating the way that I used to. And no, that is not true. You go back to eating the way that you used to. And guess what? Those 20 pounds can easily come back. So just like your body needs constant training, constant nurturing, so does your mind. You can't ever just stop eating healthy because you lost 20 pounds. Just like you can't ever stop reading and learning because you made $1 million. You still have to constantly be on top of your mindset, because that mindset is just like a muscle and you have to consistently train it. Now, the role of self-talk plays a huge part here. Self-talk is the easiest way for you to identify what your mindset is like. So if you find yourself asking yourself questions like, oh my gosh, how am I going to afford rent? Oh my gosh, how am I going to afford to start this business? That immediately should tell you, right? You can identify that in your mindset, you're thinking there's not enough. And the reality is that there is enough. And the faster that you can learn that and train that muscle, the easier that programming in your brain will remind you of that. I realized how important self-talk was on my self-love journey. And self-love is also a mindset, right? In our last episode, we talked about self-love and the journey that it takes to learn to love yourself. And part of it was your self-talk. If your self-talk is, I'm a POS, I am not good enough, I am not pretty enough, I am not enough, guess what? That becomes the lens you see yourself in the mirror with. So again, I go back to this mindset being like a lens. I think of it like when I put on some really cute pink sunglasses. I have these really cute pink sunglasses that are shaped in hearts. When I put those sunglasses on, the whole world looks different. There's like a pink glow to everything around me. And because it's pink, I see the world with so much love, right? It's this vibration of love. And so those Glasses, okay, simply putting on tangible, right? I'm talking about tangible sunglasses. Simply putting on those sunglasses makes me look at the world completely different. And that is mindset. And self-talk starts to create these, also known as sunglasses, right? The self-talk of, I can do anything, right? I can, I will, I am proud of myself. I love myself. I am enough. There is more than enough. That self-talk starts to create those magical sunglasses, and you start to see the world different. Now, reprogramming your negative self-talk into positive and empowering self-talk takes affirmations. And it has to be affirmations that you believe. Okay, so when I was starting to develop my millionaire mindset, that is what I'm currently working on right now, you guys. I'm not a millionaire yet, but like I said, yet. But for a while, I was repeating the affirmation of, I make $1 million. I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. But see, my subconscious was like, no, you're not. Like, no, you're not, Gia. So I had to rephrase that. And my new affirmation for that now is, I am committed to becoming a millionaire. That is a self-talk that your subconscious will believe. And that affirmation, I can just tell you guys, is starting to change what I do with my money, what I do with my time, the people that I surround myself with. I have put on the mindset of a millionaire, and I'm seeing the world as a millionaire would see it, right? You want to embody who you want to become. If you want to become a millionaire, you have to embody that millionaire persona, right? You have to make millionaire decisions. And the more that you repeat those affirmations of, I am committed to becoming a millionaire, right? That's a self-talk that is literally influencing every single one of my actions. And that's powerful. The role of self-talk plays a role in creating the lens that we see the world through. So that's why it's super important to nurture a mindset of abundance. I have this exercise where I wake up every single morning as soon as I wake up, and I'm like, God, thank you for this life. God, thank you for all the abundance that surrounds me. And when I walk my little Yorkie teacup mini, she's my soulmate. I walk her every morning also. And so in bed, I do my gratitude affirmations of, thank you, God, for this new day. Thank you so much for my life. And then I walk my little dog, and I have this like little pond outside, and there's a bunch of trees and flowers, and I start to look and see the abundance all around me. This is easy to see when you start to see through the lens of abundance, because the reality is, the universe is abundance. There is more than enough ocean. There's more than enough trees. There's more than enough of animals and insects and butterflies. If you look at the universe really is abundance. Now, the more that you nurture your mindset of abundance, the more that you will be able to receive it and see it. One of the affirmations I also use in order to remind myself of the abundance when my mind starts to struggle is, I see abundance everywhere. So this is a higher chakra. If you know about the chakras, there is the I am abundance, right? There's the I am statement. And then there's the I can see. So this comes up to the higher chakra, and it's like, I can see abundance everywhere. I can see abundance everywhere. That will help you so much overcome that scarcity mindset. And I know scarcity mindset came into full throttle during COVID. I know it did for me too. You think, oh my gosh, businesses are closing down, where we can't do business. Oh my gosh, I started to get challenged again. And I was already at a place where I was comfortably paying my rent And I had extra money in the bank. I was like, oh my gosh, I made it, you guys. I made it. Because I remember there was a time for a long time when I first started my business, really the first 7 years, I could barely pay my rent every month. And that's why the mindset was so hard to transform. That mindset of, gosh, there's not enough money. There's never enough money in my bank account. Like that mindset, it kept repeating itself in front of me though, because I kept thinking it. You keep thinking it, you're going to keep seeing it. And that's the facts. So I exercised my mind even when I didn't see it, right? Even when we don't see the results in our body, right? We want to see those muscles and we keep exercising with faith, knowing that eventually the pounds are going to come off, knowing that eventually our muscles are going to get stronger. It's the same with your mindset training. The foundation of it is faith. You have to have faith when you exercise and you develop your muscles, that your body's going to get stronger. You have to have faith that if you develop your mindset, eventually you're going to believe that there really is abundance everywhere, because there really is. So it's the foundation of faith. So if there's one thing that I can say truly was like the master, right? It's like the master mindset tool. It was faith. Faith is what helped me believe that one day I would be able to pay my rent and still have a lot of money in my bank account. And eventually that happened. Not that long ago, but it finally happened. And now when that scarcity programming tries to come back, I'm like, no, that's not true. I can see abundance all around me. Now, there is also a role of mindfulness and self-care when it comes to mindset. So yes, one component to developing a successful mindset, a healthy mindset, is to create affirmations and watch other intelligent people, listen to podcasts like mine, hear other people and how they developed their mindset. That is important, right? The training. Now, this next component is more like the rest time. So after you work your muscles, right? You train your mind, you read, watch podcasts or listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. After that, you need to have a rest time, right? So your mind can absorb all the information. Just like when you work your muscles, you have to rest them after so that they can grow and develop. So this mindset break, I like to call mindfulness and self-care. So this is where we start to implement those affirmations, the knowledge, the intake. And self-care for me has been meditation, bubble baths, massages, just sitting and grounding myself. And this grounding exercise that I learned, oh my gosh, it's so good to do when you're feeling super overwhelmed, and all you have to do is sit still for about 3 minutes. If you can't do 5 minutes, 3 minutes. And you close your eyes and you start to take big deep breaths in. Start with like 3 big deep breaths in. And then you start to focus on relaxing your toes. You start to relax your toes. Then you start to relax your calves, and then you start to relax your quads and your butt cheeks and your abs. And you start to slowly pan your body and go through every single body part and just allow it to relax. So you're sending this like focus, like how does your lower back feel? Does it feel tight? Try to relax it. How do your shoulders feel? Do your shoulders come up high to your ears? Try to bring them down. And you go through every single body part, you guys. And that one is what they call mindfulness. I've done this with my 12-year-old nieces, and they don't know why we do it, but I love implementing those little healthy mindset shifts with my nieces because it starts young, you guys. That's why I'm so involved and invested in spending time with my nieces, because I want to be to them the aunt, the tia that I never had. My tias came from Mexico, and so we really didn't have a lot to relate with. And they had very troubled relationships as well, like telenovela status, right? Like a lot of Latinos. And so I didn't have that growing up. And so now I'm so invested in my nieces, teaching them what self-care looks like. Self-care for me also is like my skincare, right? So I love to take my rituals so serious. And it's just because it feels so caring and loving. And again, that starts to transform the lens that we see life through. And it starts to be a lens of self-love. And self-love will definitely help you manifest a healthy mindset. Another way that I practice mindfulness is also journaling. It's such a good habit. And journaling is something that I don't do every day. It's actually my goal to do every day. But I've started to journal more and more as I develop the habit. And I mean, I've been journaling for like 10 years off and on. And I want to become consistent with it. But I will say that journaling has also helped me see the growth mindset that has taken place with all of my work, right? Again, just like we measure our weight, right? I always think about how much did I weigh when I graduated from college? How much did I weigh when I was starting my YouTube channel? How much do I weigh now? Like it's seeing and measuring your growth. And it's important to see that. It's important to see the data. It's important to look back and see, wow, all I ever talked about in some of my old journal entries 10 years ago was, why can't my parents just support me financially? I just want to start this YouTube channel. I mean, I was so devoted to becoming a fitness trainer, and I started the YouTube channel 10 years ago, and I had no money and no support by my parents. And I go back and I read these journal entries, but I had big visions, right? My mindset was like, one day I'm going to be in magazines. One day I'm going to be on television. One day I'm going to create commercials. And, I've only done YouTube commercials, but I did commercials. But one day, like, I see all these things that I also had visions for. And honestly, I also feel that like writing it down, and I've read this. I'm not just saying this because I think it. I have read that you are 80% more likely to achieve something when you write it down. And I mean, I don't know the science behind it, but I know that me writing it down, me looking back at it every year, every 2 years, and just continuing to see the objective, continuing to see the end goal, that honestly helped me make the decisions that I needed to get there. Even if it took me 10 years to finally start to see some financial abundance, even if it took me that long, I never gave up. And I think that was also really useful, right? And that was also a mindset. It's also a mindset, you guys, to never give up. So many obstacles are going to come our way when we want to achieve something, okay? When we want to start changing our life, oh my God, there's going to be obstacles and obstacles. And I always look at it like going to school. Our soul has a curriculum that it has to go through. And again, these are my learnings. These are the things that I have learned and I believe. And I believe our soul has a curriculum. And every single 5-10 years, you're handed another big test. It's like, how good did you learn the lessons from the last 5 to 10 years? And the mindset, the programming that you have in those times of test is what's going to dictate the results, right? Just like in school, in college, I remember when I didn't study for a test, guess what? I didn't get a good grade. And sometimes you had to repeat the course. So just know you're going to be tested. Okay, so I promised you guys what mind training exercises will be the most effective when you want to start transforming your mindset, transforming it to a mindset of abundance. Mindset training exercise number 1. You have to start reframing those limiting beliefs. When I started to reframe the belief that there wasn't enough money, I started to literally, all I did was, instead of I can't afford that, I changed that to a question that would get my brain going versus making my brain shut down, right? So saying, oh, I can't afford that, that shuts your brain down. It doesn't even give it the opportunity to be creative. But if you ask your brain, how can I afford that? How can I afford that? Now your brain starts to go. Your brain starts to go, and it will give you the ideas. It will give you many ideas to be able to figure out how to afford that, right? And that starts to make the shift into an abundant mindset. Exercise number 2 is gratitude journal. I personally like to write down what I'm grateful for. And I don't do this daily, but I do it every so often. And I'll make a long list. And that gratitude journal really helps you see how many beautiful things you have around you to be grateful for. I encourage you to start small. Start with writing down 3 things, especially if you're walking through the shadows of the valley and it's hard for you to see what you're grateful for. Start with 3 things, right? Start with, I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful for this life that I can learn from. I'm grateful for my friends. Whatever it is, 3 things that you want to be grateful for, and focus your energy on that. That's also a mindset, you guys. A gratitude mindset is also powerful. An abundant mindset comes from a grateful mindset, right? When you're grateful, it's like God wants to continue to give you more because you're grateful with the little that you had. I remember being so grateful when I started to get paid as an influencer. I remember my first check was like $300, and I was like, yes, I'm so grateful for this. That created a feeling of, wow, God is so wonderful to me. I'm so grateful for this. And eventually those checks grew. So a gratitude journal, great exercise. Exercise number 3 is visualization for success. So just like I told you guys that I started to journal 10 years ago, and I started to write down the visualizations of what my success would look like, right? Being on television, being in magazines, being featured in podcasts and other YouTube channels, and having that visualization really helped me to achieve that goal mindset. You have to visualize it in order to achieve it, right? You have to see it. You have to see it in your mind. There's a saying that I used to have, and I think maybe a lot of people have it, but the saying was, I won't believe it until I see it. And the reality is, you won't see it until you believe it. So constantly doing the visualizations, constantly embodying the person you want to become is the only way that you're going to be able to see it. Exercise number 4 is affirmations and self-talk. Now remember, the stories that we create in our head are the stories that start to dictate our habits, our actions. So self-talk comes from the stories you're telling yourself, right? If you're telling yourself, it's his fault I'm broke. It's his fault that I'm an alcoholic. It's his fault or her fault that, I lost everything. Those are stories that you are literally telling yourself over and over. Your brain is a storyteller. Like literally, that's what your brain is. Your brain puts together stories and it comes out with outcomes according to those stories and the programmings. So your self-talk starts to become the program that your stories are creating. You have to think of your brain as a computer. Think of it as a computer, and your self-talk is the programming. Now, just like in a computer, we can change the programming with a different download. So the download that we have to shift sometimes are the stories that we tell ourselves. So no, it's nobody's fault you're an alcoholic. Nope. It's nobody's fault that you're broke. You have to change that. You have to become responsible for your life and realize that you create your reality. Exercise number 5 is embracing failure and learning. So just because you're in a place right now where maybe you feel like you have failed at something, failure is a catalyst for growth and learning. Failure is really painful too, though. So we have to remember that failure is not a setback. You can believe that failure is a setback, which again is mindset. Problems are opportunities. You can believe that, or you don't have to, but you will see that that will dictate your reality. I hope today's episode was helpful. It was such a pleasure chatting with you and just sharing my experiences about mindset and the stories we tell ourselves that create that mindset. If this was helpful, please share it with maybe someone you feel that needs to hear this message. And to connect with me further, you can visit me at giafey.com or any of my social medias at Gia Fey. Until next time, I love you. Say it back.